Please like and comment on the video below. That will allow me to produce better quality videos and more of them in the future. If you're interested in learning to trade successfully on sports, then why not visit the BetAngel Academy, where we have more detailed videos. So just a short video to highlight to you that the Australian Open is taking place over the next couple of weeks, and it's a competition that is worthy of your attention because it will ease you in to tennis over the course of the year. And the first quarter of the year, the tennis starts in Australasia and then gradually moves around the globe before landing in spring on the clay court season in Europe. So it's a chance to sort of flex your tennis trading muscles, as it were. But there are a couple of problems obviously with the Australian Open, and the biggest one is the time zone. You tend to find that the matches are taking place late at night or in the early hours of the morning, and when you wake up in the UK time, you may find that there's a couple of late matches taking place because they can run very late into the night, and as a consequence you'll be able to catch those if you're an early riser. So there are opportunities there, but predominantly most of the activity takes place overnight. So it's not the biggest Grand Slam in terms of trading opportunities that you get throughout the year. Now, typically you can obviously automate some of that, but one of the problems that we're going to have this year is Betfair are not exposing via the API the tennis scores at the Australian Open. So that kiboshes a little bit of the enthusiasm for the competition, because typically I will run stuff overnight. And then even if it's just testing an individual strategy, it can report back to me in the morning, so that's particularly helpful. But I thought I'd just flag to you that this year there will be no live score feed from the Australian Open, so that is a bit of a shame. I imagine that will probably impact liquidity, because there'll be a lot of people that don't want to trade if that is the case. However, the liquidity generally is pretty good, so it's just not as strong as some of the other tennis tournaments that are around. But it will give you the opportunity to dive in and out and get a little bit of tennis trading under your belt before we start moving on to some of the bigger stuff that occurs as we head into the spring. Now, like all Grand Slams, you start with a large number of participants, and then each round, as they get knocked out, you gradually get towards the final. And because of that, the early rounds in the first week of the Australian Open can produce some really, really uncompetitive matches where players are going off at 101, 103, 105 and so on. However, there are sometimes opportunities to oppose those and hope that there isn't a breakthrough at some point by the dominant player, and then you'll start to see the price drift. Now, what I've done is at the end of this video, on the end screen, you'll get the tennis trading playlist, which is pretty extensive, where I discuss a number of strategies. So you should have a look at those, but I will produce a couple of other videos as well, based upon stuff that I've done before at the Australian Open and things that I think will help you. And I'll follow up with a video about something that I use to analyse and look at tennis matches that will give you probably a different perspective on that. So yeah, early rounds you could get some very uncompetitive matches. Typically what you're tending to look for within tennis is you're looking at women's tennis, and preferably looking at competitive matches, because competitive matches have more uncertainty. And when you're looking at tennis, you're looking at a binary, non-time related sport. I probably could have summarised that a bit better, but what we're saying is, because there's no particular time limit on how long a tennis match can end, they're aiming for a certain score, and because it's binary, one or the other has to win, you tend to find on tennis that the prices will flip-flop between those two players repeatedly, and that makes it a pretty good trading medium, because you'll have more than one opportunity to get out of the profit over the entire course of the match. Now, if you're looking at football, that's not quite binary related, because there are 3 outcomes, and obviously it is time related, so that as the match progresses, the time will affect the odds as well. But of course in tennis you don't get that, so you can get some pretty wild swings, and in competitive matches that's when you tend to get the most volatility. I've measured it. I think I may have done a video on it at some point in the past. I'm pretty sure I have. I'll dig out the graphic for you. But if you're looking at players that are roughly equally priced or fairly closely priced, that tends to produce the highest amount of variability within a match. So if you're looking for a great match to trade, it will be a women's match where they're both roughly equally priced. It will be very competitive between the two of them. But there are opportunities all around. I have discussed previously about early rounds tennis, so that will be within the playlist as well. Excuse me. But yeah, there will be opportunities around, but the other problem that you sort of tend to have in Australia is Australians can't bet in play without having to pick up the phone and dial somebody, which is a bit of a nonsense. So that doesn't sort of make it, you know, absolutely fantastic anyway, but I bet you that people will be doing it in play. They will find a way, and you tend to find that the events are quite liquid anyway. So yeah, there's plenty of activity, whether it's done directly or by proxy. So yeah, interesting tournament, certainly worth of your attention. I tend to use it to sort of warm up on the year. In the off season, I work on loads and loads of things, and I tend to use the Australian Open tennis to sort of mess around and experiment a bit without like going full-blooded on it. Although as we get into the latter stages of the tournament, you can get some pretty good competitive matches that are very often worth spending a bit more time on. So anyhow, if you're going to trade it, best of luck, and don't forget that there will be no live scores this year. So you won't be able to trade it completely automatically. You will still be able to do a lot of stuff and work on stuff overnight, which is what I intend to do, but you'll be missing the scores, which obviously is going to be a bit of a downer on this particular occasion. But I thought I'd do this video to alert you to the competition, but also to alert you to that particular fact that may influence how you choose to trade the Australian Open this year. Anyhow, I wish you the best of luck.